of Game Fishing Parks this year. Welcome, everyone. First, I want to introduce some of our new members. I'm going to introduce them, let them tell us a little bit about their district. First, we've got Matt Dubnik. Is he here yet? I know he was running late. Yeah, he was on a freshman field trip. I thought that's what we had in elementary school. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Teaching freshmen at committee.
So, yeah. But anyway, Trey, I welcome to this committee. Trey Rhodes, I know he's been very interested in this and shares the passion. So, Trey, tell everybody your district. And
Absolutely.
let's see where Mike. There you go.
Yes, sir. Is it on?
There it is.
Okay, yeah. My name is Trey Rhodes. I serve District 120, which is Greene County, Tolliver, Wilkes, Oglethorpe, and Putnam. So we have a bunch of renegades down our way that like to hunt and fish. So I've been a hunter and fisherman all my life, and this is a passion of mine, and I look forward to working with y'all.
Thank you, Trey. It sounds like a lot of our constituents. Next, I want to make an introduction, make sure everyone knows who the folks who support this committee are. First of all, our committee analyst, David Hartman. David, where are you? Thank you. And everybody knows Jeremy Airy, our legal counsel. And then my aide this year is David Penland behind me. And then we also have an intern in our suite, and she could not be here today, but Nelion Rivera, Nelion, but you'll see her as you walk into our suite downstairs. So tell her hello when you see her. With that, guys, that's the introductions. And what I'd like to do now is just a quick housekeeping measure. Let's look at you should see in your folder the committee rules. No changes from last year. I'd like everyone to take a second, and if we don't mind, let's go ahead and adopt those this year.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the committee rules.
Yes. Tell you what, we do need more ladies on this committee. Unfortunately, though, that's committee on assignment, so I'm not sure. I'm not on that committee, but we appreciate you being on it and a long-standing member. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, back to business. Let's look at these rules, guys.
At the proper time, I'd like to make a motion.
You are recognized. Second, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the rules are adopted. All right, guys. I'm sorry, and gal. Man, we're all going to get in trouble here. Is Jimmy here? Yeah, we'll get him to sign it later. As we kick off our first meeting, we always, this is, I guess, I think a tradition. I've been here long enough, but I think it's a good tradition. We always bring our Department of Natural Resources and the different departments in. You know, again, Trey mentioned it, but this is such a passion in Georgia, and I know everyone on this committee has a passion about it. Georgia's a diverse state, from its mountains all the way to its coast and all different landscapes in between. And the resources that we have as far as our natural resources, our wildlife, our parks, you know, it's such a valuable part of our life and the quality of life that Georgians enjoy. And we need to be proud of it, but most of all, proud of the folks at Department of Natural Resources for all they do to make sure that we have the quality resources and all those items that are very, very important to us and our families. So with that, I'm going to introduce The commissioner, he's a friend of us all. I know many of us have served with him in the past. And Commissioner Mark Williams, thank you for what you do. And if you will, have the floor and tell us a little bit, and then you can introduce our directors.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm certainly glad to be here today. As a former member, some of my friends that I used to serve with, they told me 6 years ago, you're getting your dream job. So almost 7 years later, I can tell you that you were completely right. I've enjoyed every minute of it and continue to enjoy it. And mainly it's because of the great people I work with in the greatest department in state government. This year, you're going to hear some of the technical things we do in our day-to-day job, but this has been a real unique year for our agency and some of the other ways that we have put aside what we were trained to do and went out and helped Georgians. We were very active in the hurricane, Matthew, very active in the wildfires, and very active in the winter storms, and our employees are very active helping the Georgians down in the southwest part of the state. It's something when you work or the head of an agency and you don't go around saying you got to go, you just ask for volunteers, and most of the time we have more folks than we even need from our agency, so they put down their day jobs and do that. And I just want to publicly thank my employees for what they've done all year. Couple of let me start by introducing some folks because you're going to see them around in the halls. Walter Rabin, my deputy commissioner here in the yellow tie. Wes Robinson, our public affairs and legislative director, is here. And we also have Amber Carter, who assists Wes. Amber, where are you at? Raise your hand. And Shelby Johnson will be coming over. She's our newest member and works with us there in the office. So they're all great folks. And Mr. Chairman, I want to start with just a couple of factoids about the overall agency. We had two directors that couldn't be here. One of them because he's way down on the coast, and then Dr. Crass could not be with us today either. But DNR has 1,700 employees that make up 5 divisions. Their Coastal Resource Division, our Wildlife Resource Division, Law Enforcement Division, Parks, Recreation, Historic Sites Division, and our Historic Preservation Division. We currently manage over 1 million acres of public lands. We welcome nearly 8 million visitors to our state parks each year, which generate an economic impact of more than $610 million a year. We have over 600,000 hunters in Georgia, and they generate an economic impact of $1.6 billion. Anglers, we have 1.5 million of them, and they have an economic impact worth over $2 billion. So the economics are really astounding of just those two activities. Two of our divisions that couldn't be here, as I said, were Coastal Resources, so I'm just going to hit some highlights about our Coastal Resource Division on Spud's behalf. He's a little younger than me, but I got a lot more hair, those of you that know Spud. But the office is located down on the coast, right before you cross the big suspension bridge there on 17, the beautiful building over there in the marsh is where they're at. Got 14 barrier islands, 500,000 acres of estuaries, and 100 miles of barrier island beaches. And it's just a prized resource of the state. One little factoid, we only have 100 miles of coastline, but we have 1/3 of the entire salt marsh on the eastern seaboard from the Keys all the way up to Maine in the United States. CRD is responsible for managing Georgia's saltwater, recreational, and commercial fisheries. Saltwater fishing makes up $500 million of economic impact for the state of Georgia with over 250,000 saltwater fishermen. CRD also administers the Coastal Marshlands Protection Act and Shore Protection Act to ensure that human activities do not harm the irreplaceable coastline marshlands and the sand shearing system on the coast. CRD also administers Georgia's Coastal Management Program, which provides a variety of services such as disaster resiliency and recovering planning to our coastal counties. And finally, the Coastal Resource Division is vital to marine resource inventory, monitoring, and management, such as sampling aquatic resources and testing waters from sailfish growing areas to ensure they are safe for human consumption. As a fancy way of saying we manage the oyster and shrimp industry and the crab industry as well. So, moving on to our Historic Preservation Division, as I said, Dr. David Crass couldn't be there. It's a very small division located out at Panola Mountain State Park, about 25 employees. But they promote the preservation and use of historic places throughout Georgia. They are charged by federal statute to carry out certain laws and regulations that govern preservation and archaeological projects. HPD has an impressive tax incentive program. I know y'all have debated and passed bills over the last few years. This program can provide as much as 25% of rehabilitation expenses. One well-known example of this is the Ponce City Market development. Hope some of y'all have had a chance to go there. Beyond tax credits, HPD surveys properties for the National and State Registry of Historic Places. Lastly, the archaeological section provides assistance to the public and handles environmental reviews from agencies like DOT to ensure artifacts aren't lost in the construction. Basically, anytime federal money is used in our state, we have to do what we call a Section 106 review for archaeological and cultural resources. Cell towers, banks that are FDIC insured, a lot of things you don't think about, but they stay very busy with that. So, Mr. Chairman, at this time, I will turn it over to Becky Kelly with our Parks Division, and then be here to answer any questions after three of our division directors present.
Thank you, Commissioner. Come on, Becky.
Well, good morning, everyone. No, good afternoon, everyone. I've been out in the parks this morning. I just came from beautiful Tallulah Gorge State Park, and this is just a great day to be out in the park. So I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today and talk about our great state parks. As you may know, our system has well over 85,000 acres of forest, wildlife, and fauna from the mountains to the coast. We have people on our team that manage these properties, but we also rely on our partnership with our sister agencies, as well as a lot of other people from the Forest Service to Georgia Power even helps us with a number of things as we move through our management resource responsibilities. But one of our primary goals is to protect these resources, both natural and cultural, because that's who we are as a people, that's who we are as a state, and in many cases we have assets that have national significance. So it also speaks to who we are as a state. And we're very, very humbled to be the stewards of these places and invite people to come and learn about who we are as Georgians and to learn more about our culture and our history. And one of the things that we try to do at our parks is not only to make sure that our resources are healthy, but that we find ways to engage people so that they feel enriched and enlightened by their experience at our parks. We have 743 staff members working in our system. A few years ago, about 60 to 70% of those were full-time, and that we had seasonal employees. Now those are reversed. We have a lot of part-time people in our system, and that's allowed us to look at a lot of different operating models. As many of you know that have been with us, the legislature for years, we've gone through some challenges in finding the balance between conservation and generating revenue within our system. And I have to say we're a work in progress. We've done a lot of great things, and thanks to your support, the leadership of our commissioner and our governor, we've been able to make some very important and very focused enhancements in our park system that are truly making a difference. As the commissioner said, we welcomed well over 8 million people last year. That's about 400,000 more than the year before. And word is getting out. So we're seeing that people are discovering their parks. They're seeing them as great assets to their community. They're seeing them as destinations to come to your community to expend their tourism dollars in our state. And that's a part of our goal too. So in addition to protecting and enhancing our resources, we also are a part of our state's very strong economy. So I just wanted to introduce myself to you today, let you know that if there's anything that we can do for you as you're out and about and traveling, we hope you'll stop into a state park or a historic site. And if we can ever help in any way, please let us know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Becky. many of you, there's maps in here, and again, on all the departments, but I would encourage you, you've got a park somewhere close to in your district, if not close to your district, and if you haven't been, it truly is one of our state assets, and thank you, Becky, for what you do, and again, you're doing it well, and it's proven by the numbers. We appreciate it. Thank you.
For you, I'm gonna borrow yours, Representative Corbett. There's a lot of detailed information, but Amber and Wes went through and to each district and put together one cheat sheet for you. This is refrigerator type stuff on a magnet. I mean, this will be a good resource for you. Tells you how many licenses, hunting licenses are sold in your district and that. So I wanted to thank Amber and Wes for doing that. That was something I would have liked to have had as a legislator. Next, for years and years, those who've been on the committee a long time, Dan Forrester did a great job at Wildlife Resources and testified before this committee many times on many issues. With his retirement, we have hired a man that, when I was commissioner, I'd run around the state and I just kept hearing this guy's name over and over. And so finally I went to Charlie Elliott and met him personally, but Rusty Garrison just did a tremendous job down at Charlie Elliott Wildlife Center for years and years, training school teachers, teaching small children. The numbers are pretty staggering what we run through there in a year about wildlife and conservation. And so we asked him to step up and be the Wildlife Resources Director, and he is just doing a tremendous job. So at this time, I want to introduce you all to Mr. Rusty Garrison.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, it's great to be here. When I started working in the wildlife field, my dad called me and he said, "Rusty, you've got a problem." I said, "What is that?" And he said, "You've got nothing to do on vacation anymore." and I was like, that's a good problem to have because I love what I do. I am very passionate about wildlife. I'm very passionate about our people in the Wildlife Resources Division and very passionate about serving our customers. And so I've got the best of both worlds. I've got it all. And so I appreciate the commissioner's confidence in me, putting me in this position. I am the new kid on the block, been here 7 months at this point. I've traveled around the state. As soon as I got appointed, I began traveling around the state, traveling about 2,500 miles a month, just visiting all of our people, trying to make the effort to be in front of every one of our 350 Wildlife Resources Division personnel and just listening to them and hearing what they had to say and how we can do things more efficiently, do things better, what needs fixing, and just writing all that down. One of the things that I focused on as I went, and if you look in your packet somewhere, there's the WRD fact sheet, and that fact sheet right up at the top has our Wildlife Resources Division mission. And it's right there to promote, to conserve, enhance, and promote Georgia's wildlife resources and fisheries and outdoor heritage. That's our mission, and I've told our folks that's what we want to be doing. We want to be focused on our mission. That's what we're all about. And so just spent the time traveling and talking to them, telling them. I wanted them to know that as their director, my job, I see my job as making them as successful as they possibly can be. I want to lead them and make them just as successful as possible, to motivate them to do everything they can to serve our customers and be the best. In fact, last week I had a statewide meeting with all of them, and I told them I wanted us, Wildlife Resources Division, to be known as the best division in the country and put that challenge out there to them. And so to do that, we have to be mission focused, we have to be customer focused, and we have to focus on communications. And those are the things that I've really pushed and promoted for them to do with game management, with fisheries management, with non-game section, all of those folks just making sure that they're focused on the customer. And I've told them when the phone rings, that's not an interruption to your work, it is your work. And that is the way we want to look at it and the way we want to be. As we We have 104 wildlife management areas currently, over 1 million acres of land, as the commissioner has stated. And we want those to be the best. We want people to come and have the best wildlife experience they possibly can on those. We've got 68 wildlife technicians working on those areas. So obviously they're working multiple areas as they manage those areas. People with a $19 license, wildlife management area license, they get access to 1 million acres of land. That's the best hunting lease you can possibly come up with. And I tell people that all the time. You can have all this access to these lands with $19. Why aren't we using that more? We have 10 public fishing areas. That $19 wildlife management area license gives you access to 2,200 acres of water and heavily, intensively managed water for fishing. And so those 1.2 million anglers in the state have a place to go, and they can go and fish there on those. We've got 10 fish hatcheries that we're managing statewide to be able to stock the streams and the rivers and the lakes and the reservoirs that we have in the state. We currently manage 151 boat ramps, and every one of those, all of those facilities that we have, I just want us to focus on those and make sure that we're providing the best experience that we possibly can for our customers and for your constituents. We also have 7 education centers around the state, and people tend to think that we're doing education only there. We're doing education across the board. Everywhere we go, everything that we do, we're trying to educate the public and making sure that they understand management and the current conservation issues of the day. And we also have 17 WRD shooting ranges and 20 archery ranges. Those are extremely popular, extremely popular. We have people there every day on our shooting ranges. And again, gave our shooting sports coordinator the challenge this week. Make those the best. Do everything we can to make those the best. So we do all that with funding that comes from our sport fish wildlife restoration funds. 71% of the budget of our funds come from the PR funds and the DJ funds that we get from the federal government and license sales. So that's where the bulk of our budget comes in. Hunters and anglers have paid more towards conservation than any other group, all the other groups combined. Say that again? You want to say that again?
Yes,
Please. All right. Hunters and anglers have paid more towards conservation than all other groups combined. They're the ones that are paying for the conservation, and it's through that license sale and through the equipment sales that happen and the excise tax on the PR funds and the DJ funds. That's where that comes from. For our non-game programming, we get about $300,000 in state revenue, state funding, but then our license plates, our non-game wildlife license plates, our Weekend for Wildlife that's coming up this weekend brings in a huge amount of money, the state income tax checkoff, and then other donations as well. All of those go into our non-game program. So just to kind of summarize all that, our funding for wildlife resources, 51% comes from federal funds, and that's $37 million right at it. 20% comes from our license revenue, $14 million. 26% from other funds, right at $19 million, and then 3% state allocation at $2.5 million. That's where the funding comes from. If you look at that, the advantage Georgians have is that right now they can buy a hunting license and fishing licenses cheaper than anywhere else in the country. Anywhere else in the country they can purchase those. Our fishing license is $9. That's half the average in the Southeast. Our big game hunting license is $19. That's less than half than anywhere else. Our sportsman's license is right at half of our surrounding states. So great investment. You can't go to a movie and dinner at night and for what you would pay for a sportsman's license. And that sportsman's license gets you access to those 1 million acres of land and those PFAs, 2,200 acres of water. You get all of that from that license. So it's a great value to our customers, great value to your constituents. So if you want to know more, if you look in this packet that you've got in front of you, somewhere is that WRD fact sheet, and also there is the non-game programs annual report that you now have in your hands, and it's online as well. So I'll be glad to entertain questions after our next one. Commissioner?
Thank you, Rusty. This next gentleman I'd introduce, some of you might stand up and turn around and put your hands behind your back. You might recognize you a little better, but just kidding, Representative Rhodes. No, we have an outstanding law enforcement division that enforces all our game laws, and Eddie Henderson is our colonel, chief of the law enforcement division, so I'll introduce him at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner, Committee, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the opportunity this afternoon to be able to address the group. And first of all, really appreciate what you do as members of this committee, but also as a General Assembly supporting DNR and what you've done over the years supporting our law enforcement officers. If you'll, in the back of your, probably left-hand side of your white DNR folder, if you are interested in the information I'm going to give you, there's a handout there. Just a little bit about our division. I know everybody knows what we do. You know, we are a support division for DNR. If you look at our division itself, we're the oldest state law enforcement agency in Georgia, founded in 1911. We're proud of that. This year we'll be 106 years old that we've been in existence. So that's pretty significant to us. And our mission, as you know, is to enforce the hunting and fishing laws in our state, the boating laws, and we maintain support from the public through that fair and vigorous law enforcement. We're really big on the educational piece that's associated with what we do for a living. We expect our officers to get out, be a part of the community that they live in, be involved in that community, because to be successful, they have to do that. And with that, we have adopted or took on a new challenge that we're calling problem adoption. If somebody's got a problem, our officers are supposed to take that on and find a solution for them, no matter what part of our department that's associated with. Our officers have true passion for what they do for a living, and it takes it, just like the rest of DNR, to have that passion to be successful. You know, it's kind of a balancing act for our folks to enforce the law, plus have that kind of a good old boy approach when they're dealing with the sportsmen and sportswomen of this state. So it's kind of a unique niche that they fill with that. And talking about our officers, this past year, over a 12-month period, we brought back every national award that there is out there back to the state of Georgia. We had our Corporal Jason Robertson, who was the National Association of Boating Law Administrators Boating Officer of the Year. Corporal Greg Wade, who was the AFWA Conservation Law Enforcement Award of the Year. And we also had Casey Jones, the North American Wildlife Enforcement Officer of the Year award. So we thought that was significant, but it really speaks to the quality of personnel that we have in our state. The commissioner has already mentioned kind of the economics, but if you look at the number of anglers, hunters, and boaters in this state, there's a pretty significant number of constituents that we interact with on a regular basis. And as you know, the core mission, the core duties of our officers include that hunting, fishing, and boating, but it also includes that public safety on all of our DNR controlled properties, whether it's a state park, a wildlife resources division property, providing search and rescue within our state. Last year alone, our officers were involved in over 500 search and rescue, that's water or woods only, related events. That, to me, that's real significant. 344 of those were on the water and 166 on the land. So our folks are out there providing that support a lot. You've already heard about the number of parks, WMAs, and total in Georgia, there's 37 million acres of property, both private and public, that we're responsible for patrolling. And then if you look at our waterways, our officers have 16,000 miles of rivers they're responsible for, 500,000 acres of impounded waters, 100 linear miles of the coast there, and we can go up to 200 miles offshore. One thing we're proud of in the boating arena, we're one of 10 states last year that is accredited through the National Association of Boating Law Administrators under the boat program. So we have an accreditation for our boat program in Georgia, which is pretty significant that we achieve that. And then the next one, talking about the side scan sonar, sector scan, and ROV. I just really wanted to bring something else out. Game wardens are very innovative. You know, we do a lot of boating enforcement, but we usually work on about 50 body recoveries in the state at some point in time. It's one of those tasks we don't really care about having to do, but it's part of our mission. One thing our officers have done, they have changed the way body recovery happens in this state, and it's through this technology. This technology, they'll run with the side scan sonar, they'll identify a target, they'll use a sector scan to identify it a little closer, and then a little remote underwater vehicle. They have adapted just a typical animal snare. There's a photo on the next page there where it says recovery adapter, and they tied a rope to it, and they can take this little ROV, go down. If there's an appendage of that individual where they can get the snare on it, they'll retrieve the body without a diver having to go down. We've done that in 40-degree water, which is significant if you're a diver, not having to go down, or just by holding on to the body with this device and letting the diver go down and retrieve it. It has really changed the way operations in this state have occurred. So we're proud of that ingenuity that our officers have to do that. You know, our officers provide that law enforcement off the pavement piece, whether it's on the air, the water. They're the most versatile peace officer in this state. You know, every day they're focusing on their core mission, the hunting, the fishing, the boating, but they're also called to do a lot of different things, whether it's the snowstorms, the ice storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, wherever it may be. Our department stands up and our officers are always willing to go do what it takes because they've got that specialized equipment and that special training to be able to operate in those off the road, whether it's woods or water types of environment. We also have assistance for a lot of the state teams that have been put together through different years through executive orders, whether it's the body recovery team, the child abduction response team, the governor's drug task force, or the state's counterterrorism task force. Just a lot of involvement, and again, every one of those teams we're on, our game wardens bring to the table that water or woods piece, that unique equipment and skill set they have. We've got 195 post-certified officers now in the state. We've got 18 brand-new baby game wardens going through training, which we're proud of. That gets us up to that number. So about another year, we'll be through with that process. Overall, it's about a 49-week process to get our folks through the basic mandate, the advanced game and fish, and then that field training program that we have. And even with the new hires we're still sitting at 47 counties without an assigned resident ranger. We're continuing to work on that, and hopefully eventually down the road we'll have some additional positions to help plug in on some of those. And then on the very back slides, my contact information, if I can ever be of service, if you've got any questions that might be associated with our division. I do appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, hold. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sorry, all the directors, but yes, we're gonna allow the committee to have questions and the directors, respond. So yes, well, Colonel's up here if you've got a question.
Well, I just wanted to commend your Rangers. 2016 was a rough year for coastal Georgia. And I just want to thank your Rangers for the body recovery incident in Camden County and Glenn County. I lost some dear neighbors, and your folks were right on that, and I appreciate their efforts in that, and I also appreciate y'all's efforts in the storm there on Hurricane Matthew. So you guys have done a great job for our area.
Well, appreciate those comments, sir. Our folks are, as you said, are very dedicated to their mission and what they do.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, any questions for not only Colonel but any of the other commissioner or the other directors here? I mean, now's the time to ask if there's something going on in your district or there's something that you're curious about. These are the experts, so please talk to them and let them know here. Real quick, I want to take an opportunity, guys. One of our new members, Matt Dubnick. Matt, I know you were out on a field trip. I thought we only did those in elementary school, but but Matt, if you will, I'm sorry guys, I'm going to take a real quick break and welcome Matt, and if you will, tell us about you and your district and to the members.
Sure. So again, I'm Matt Dubnick, I'm from Gainesville, took over for Laurel Rogers, decided to hang it up. raising the family together there and in business together there. Two little boys, but this was a very welcome landing spot for me from an assignment standpoint. So look forward to it, and eyes wide open.
I understand that you like ducks. Hunt ducks.
Fair statement. I've spent time on staff with Ducks Unlimited. Still a very involved volunteer, and I am currently I serve as statewide volunteer, and I'll take over as our state chairman, which is our volunteer leadership position. One of these upcoming summers.
Well, I'll tell you, the committee we're looking for a field trip for a duck hunt. So, well, guys, real quick, I do want an opportunity to talk with our commissioner and directors here. Any questions or comments from the committee on what they do and what number are you? 9. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Y'all may have already talked about this, but I was just curious. You know, you were talking about the economic impact of hunting to the state, and I know it's just tremendous, and for a lot of people who have no idea it's that big, because there's a lot of people that actually, not just the people here in Georgia, that are listed on our sheets here in my district. There's right at 9,400 hunters, and so we're concerned about some of Earl's constituents because he's only got 4,500 that hunt. So I don't know what that says about his district. But no, in all seriousness though, out of that economic impact, I mean, what is the greatest impact as far as the sector of hunting? I mean, you got deer hunting and you got small game and you've got the whole. Does anybody know kind of how that breaks down?
We don't have it broken down exactly, but it's about $1 billion is the economic impact in retail sales just in Georgia from hunting. And that doesn't include angling. We've never broken it down by deer, squirrel, but I can tell you just intuitively deer is the number one there because of all of the deer hunters that we have. That's our most popular is deer hunting. Yeah. Living at Charlie Elliott Wildlife Center in Monticello, the deer capital of the world, I mean, the economic impact of deer hunting in Monticello and Jasper County, I'm not sure what would happen if deer hunting went away. Yeah.
Cuz, let's leave the talk of the golden acorns off right now. Chairman Earhart.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Randy, I just want to tell you how much I thought of Outdoor Georgia and that new application you had. Notwithstanding the majority of comments about the hunters in my district, some of us do appreciate that. I wanted to ask you in the serious matter, the game check and a lot of things. That was a new experience for me, but I thought it worked out pretty well. How did that roll out? How many folks showed up at the processor without their number and their phone? I came walking in with mine. So.
Initially, there was some misunderstanding. I mean, you can't call it in with Game Check. You've got your cell phone. If you don't have internet access, you've got 72 hours to get it reported. The problem was when they got to the cooler lockers, if they didn't have that number, they needed to call right then because the cooler lockers were told, hey, you can't accept it. And there was some miscommunication there, but we smoothed those out, and we've gotten some very good numbers.
I got great feedback. I really did. I got that.
I've heard just a few negative things still because of the lack of internet access, but we're dealing with those quite easily.
And I did get a couple calls on people that are at a camp for 3, 4, 5 days, and then you can't quarter that deer and put it in your cooler and take it back. The processors were telling them they had to have the whole carcass. They had to show the antlers.
That's not the case. I mean,
I didn't think it was, but I think there was one time there might.
Yeah, there was just some confusion there. If so, I messed up because I quarter my deer immediately. So I never leave the field without it quartered.
Just a call, but I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, I think that everyone has been a big fan of that.
Chairman Earhart, I thank you for your question. I mean, that is a great topic, and I know one of the initiatives that DNR has had, quite frankly, you know, from a resource point of view of getting more data, more accurate data, timely data back to help with decisions, plus the fact of, and this committee is well aware of, hunter recruitment. As we have, younger generations, this is indeed a better way to make sure that we're connected with them. In fact, I don't know, are there, maybe commissioner or director, are there more things to come with the online program or apps? Are we adding to it, or are we just sort of holding still right now? What?
Well, with the app, there's a number of things that happen. I'm getting compliments on the fact that with the app, you can have your license right there on the app with doing reminders and checks. You don't have to worry about that paper. You've got it. If you've got your phone, you just show it to the ranger when they check you. It's all of those things that we're rolling out. And
As technology increases and just getting the kinks, what we've got out there now is the basics that we need. So now we're looking at some of the better things we can do, like including some of Becky's information on. See, right now you can check in, you can buy your license, you can check in a WMA, and eventually we want you to be able to look on there and say, is there a cabin close by the state park? So those types of things.
Maybe another hunter for safety purposes.
Suggestion, I'm kind of a high-tech hunter, and y'all, you could you could put a turkey call on that thing or something.
electronic calls not allowed.
I'm just testing you.
I think there's regulations in your packet. You need to study on those.
Well, but no, thank you for what we're doing there. It is very important, and again, not only as a reporting tool, a resource tool, but hopefully is getting more and more people informed of what is out there, the great resources that we have, and especially trying to grab these young kids that can't seem to put the smartphones down. So.
Yeah. Recruitment and retention is definitely on the forefront of what we're doing, and part of that with the license renewal, you can check a box and automatically renew your license, so we don't have any of that delay. The lapse factor is not there, and that's been very popular actually. People are checking that box, and that's been a big help for us as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the work y'all done in the whole department. Well, guys, more questions. This is our opportunity. All right. Let's see. What number are we looking at? All right.
Well, thank you again for what you do, and want to understand that I've heard Georgia was #1 in out-of-state hunting license sold. Is that true still, or what ranking are we roughly?
That was from the national survey that was conducted 4 years ago. We were ranked in that survey through survey.
Okay.
That we were the #1 state in hunting license sold. We have really tried to work on that and make sure we maintain that. The survey hasn't come out again recently, so yes, for 5 years we will hold that record for sure.
Good deal.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Also, how many moles gave their life for this packet?
That's Becky's question.
Better question.
Please come to my house.
Were there any raccoons harmed in this?
I'm at bill for raccoons and everywhere I go.
Guys, more questions? All right.
I'm gonna hush soon. I think one thing we forget to mention when we're talking about DNR, but when you talk about your parks, we got some awesome golf courses around the state too. And as a golfer, I like to golf almost as much as I like to hunt. But I enjoy going to these parks and where these golf courses are set up. And
Yes.
and Little Ocmulgee is one of the. I've got great memories from playing the state tournaments in high school at Little Ocmulgee State Park. But y'all do a great job with your golf courses, and I know that's not easy to keep a golf course up. It's hard to keep golfers satisfied. But I just want to personally thank y'all for what you do for the golf courses and for keeping those the way you do. Thank you.
Yeah, we see too many signs about come play Alabama. We need some more. Yeah. So, no, again, guys, we have quite a treasure in Georgia from our parks and our wildlife and coastal divisions. Again, what other state has the diversity that we have? And I think you'll find that we are pretty unique in that, and we are a treasure. And quite frankly, we've got great folks that are here watching over that for us and making sure it's smooth. So I want to say thank you also. Any other questions? Well, I think, first of all, Commissioner and all the directors, Colonel, thank y'all for coming. We appreciate it. I know we're probably going to have further business. Hopefully we'll have further business as far as maybe some legislation, but I'll tell you that the chairman wants to do more of this as far as, you know, looking at items that affect, you know, our departments and coming in that may, you know, those departments and how it interacts with our constituencies and what's going on. So we'll have some more meetings, and hopefully they'll be very informative. So with that, you got a, yes. What number?
Mine is not a question. It's just a statement, especially to the new members. We probably have the best department in the country. You know, I've worked with them since I've been on this committee, and that's been since 2003. And they're very, very responsive. They do a wonderful job in the parks. I have a big event that I do in one of our parks, Sweetwater Creek, every year, and they participate in it. And so I just, you know, whenever you get a chance to publicly thank people for doing a good job, I just wanted to do it. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. And we haven't heard anything from Al Williams. Isn't that strange?
He's asleep.
Huh?
I've been listening, and
What?
if you just insist, and I understand, but Chairman, and I'm so glad to see so many new faces. And Matt, with that fancy suit on, you'll do well on this. Tailored buttonholes. Thank you all, and for what you're doing. I was listening to Roger. I don't know who else, Mr. Chairman, but we could be the two senior people left on this committee. We've been here since 2003, and I don't know who else on this committee has served longer than that. It's been an interesting thing. We've had some interesting projects over time. I'm a little surprised I didn't hear Jason. We don't have any corn or anything this year. Deer, you want to bring any elk in or anything? So maybe we can move along smoothly, but thank you all. Thank you for all you do for us, and we appreciate your expertise. I hear a lot of good things about you. I have noticed a difference, by the way, from when I came on this committee to now, out in the general population. You guys couldn't win any popularity contests just a few years ago. You've done a lot to improve your relationship with a lot of the hunters down here in this state, and I think that speaks well for you. Right.
Representative Bruce said I started something I shouldn't have, but I'm just kidding. No, Al's been a long-time member. I know on the coast he knows a lot and certainly represents a lot of people. It's a very important part of it and a valued member of this committee. I'm just cutting up now.
Thank you, sir.
One you did bring up an issue. Chairman, I did have a constituent issue. We've got an elk or two that has crossed the line.
My goodness.
What happens to these elk that cross the line?
It's a bad line to cross. Depends on what county.
No, seriously, Commissioner. Somebody had said that they've spotted one or two.
Eddie or Rusty, correct me if I'm wrong, but elk do not have protections on them in the state of Georgia. There's no season on elk. That's right. That's it. Any season anyway.
For a guide, for a guide, they do well in that.
We
There you
have
go.
one confirmed that we actually put our eyes on in Clayton, Georgia, and Annapolis. Young bull.
I'm starting to say a couple of elk in some of the lower farms could would not sit well with the residents, I'm sure. So, but anyway, guys, again, I appreciate it. We've had a great meeting, and it's always a pleasure to have y'all here. We look forward to future meetings, not only with potential legislation that will come here, but other informative presentations on some of the great things that are going on in the state of Georgia. With that, if there are any other no further business, yes, I got one reminder, guys. The committee dinner, we always have our annual committee dinner. You should look in the 30th. Let's if you look in your handout. I don't think I buried mine, but I want to make sure that we're everyone, here it is, yep. Fogo de Chao again, this is our annual, Game Fish and Parks Committee, dinner. It is on the 30th at 6 o'clock, Fogo de Chao. And I will tell you that if you don't go ahead and RSVP right now, Lee Goff, our office assistant, will hound you until she gets an answer. So, guys, take time to get with
Let me
with one of our
RSVP.
aides or interns, so to do that. So,
Very good vegetarian.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
good salad bar. So, anyway, guys, thank y'all. If there's no further business, we will stand adjourned.